Hi everyone, my name is Mark Deere, and in today's video I wanted to talk about, I guess it's kind of a mindset thing. Because the other day Candice and I were talking to our friend Catherine, who has watched a couple of these videos, which is interesting, and we were saying that, and we realized this kind of thinking out loud, we've always done exactly what we wanted. We always do what we want. Like, we've kind of tried not to let exterior forces affect us, and I'll go into it in a bit more detail in a sec, but like we've tried to just, be true to ourselves and do what we want. But we've never gotten what we want. Now, I'll expand on this. So it's like the quote of the day is, we always do what we want, we never get what we want. And I guess the mindset thing I'm talking about here is kind of not settling or not justifying to yourself why what you get is out of your control or what you get is okay, like trying to find a positive in a negative. Now, I've sort of talked about this in a lot of other videos, but not a lot of other videos, but one or two other videos I've talked a little, I've alluded to this mindset. I talked about scarcity and I talked about a few other things, but I think this is more of a video about prioritizing, right? So I'm thinking out loud here, like all my videos. If you haven't seen any of my videos yet, I'm making 100 in 100 days while I share my process working on my documentary. It's called Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. It's 20 years this year in 2025 since I made my first feature film. And so I'm reflecting on just ideas and things in life and creativity and filmmaking. And yeah, this has come up again and again a few times. So Candice and I have never really prioritized the outcome. We're so focused on the process, but we've never really tried to get the things we want. So like, we'll get what we're given, which I guess is how we were raised. You get what you're given. So whatever we got, we're like, oh, thank you. We're appreciative of what we got, like, oh, I worked hard for this, whatever, say your parents, or you did you get what you're given, like is the messaging we got a lot when we were kids. And we obviously took it to heart because we can choose what we do. We can control what we do. But I think you can still demand what you want. You can still expect what you want. And you're allowed to be upset or sad if you don't get what you want. You don't need to do what we've done our whole lives and justify why what you got is okay. Like, oh, it would have been nice to get a house with a pool, but this house is nice and it's got this, even though you want a pool. Like, or, I mean, that's probably a weird example. Like, you could talk about the same thing, like, oh, our film didn't get into that film festival, but we did get into this one. It's like, what's wrong with wanting more? What's wrong with expecting to get what you want, So doing what you want is step one, I think, because a lot of people can't even control that. They're like, oh, I really wish I could be a painter, but they don't have the money for paints, or their partner won't let them paint because they think it's stupid or they're scarred against it or something. Or same thing with music. Like, I used to love playing guitar when I was a kid and I'd have to turn it right down and use headphones because that's loud and you sound crap, And so, yeah, I think sometimes just doing what you want is difficult. Or a lot of the time it's probably difficult because, especially if you're doing something, a lot of ants, especially if you're doing something that is not following conventional wisdom. So if you're becoming a doctor, no one's probably going to stop you. Except maybe someone who is a doctor and they're like, the hours are terrible, you don't get enough respect, the pay is bad, but everybody else oh, doctor, great. Especially if you're a young person, thinking about your future career. But if you say to your parents, I want to be an artist, I want to be a painter, I want to be a filmmaker, your parents will go, I don't know about that. Is that such a good idea? So instantly, to do what you want, you have resistance and you have to fight for it, And this is what Candice and I, both as creative people, we've been living creative lives for a very long time. I don't know if I can't see the ants, but they keep crawling on me. Anyway, I do what I want and keep making a film, despite nature. But yeah, it's been hard, And a lot of our friends will often say to us, because for the last decade I've worked, me and Candice used to work together. She was a film editor. And we made 500,000, a lot of corporate videos and TV ads, a mix over the course of 11 years. And she edited pretty much all of them. So she's edited a lot of videos. So, but then when we had kids, or after the first 18 months of, when we had Lucy and, even when we had Sunny, we were still working in film. So our first two kids, we were still working in video, but then I started teaching and she just was a full-time stay-at-home mum. And when she would edit, I'd take over the parenting when we were doing that, but then she just took over 100% the parenting. And people would say oh, wow, I wish I could have one person not work and the other one work. And we're like, well, you can't, you have to choose to do it, right? And they'd be, oh, but we couldn't afford our blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, the thing you wanted to do was own that house with that massive mortgage, whereas we have this house with a smaller mortgage so that we can have one of us stay home. As an example that's not necessarily related to creativity. And it's funny because doing what you want is hard. And especially when you get when you have outside influences telling you, oh, I wish I could do that, and you're like, it's hard, or you're not appreciating the sacrifices I'm having to make, because you could do that. Like, because they'll say it sarcastically, oh, I wish I could have only one person working. It's like, well, we've made a lot of sacrifices to make that work. So this is the thing, we've always done what we wanted, and if it meant sacrifices, if it meant risk, I did a video the other day about risk taking, like, we did it because we have autonomy over ourselves and we want to do what we want. We don't want to live with regrets, right? But we realized this the other day talking to Catherine, that we've never focused on getting what we want. Like, we've never focused on the outcome and thinking like, because we focus on the process, or we focus on the thing itself, rather than like, I want this thing. And is there anything wrong with that? No, there's not. And this has been a recurring theme across these videos. I don't know if I've hit 40 videos yet, but I've made a lot of videos now. In a lot of videos, I've spoken about this idea of abundance. And getting raised with a scarcity mindset, you kind of, and inheriting that from multiple generations, both of us, because me and Candy both came from working class families. It's a massive mindset shift to think, I can get what I want. Not just do what I want, where you have immediate control, but you can expect what you want, And so this is, maybe by the end of the 100 videos I will have cracked it, or at least had a bit of a breakthrough. But yeah, to me, I don't see any problem with expecting to get what you want out of a situation, or out of an activity you've done, or out of anything, And why should you miss out when somebody else can get it? Everybody deserves to be able to get what they want. And maybe in some instances it's a matter of setting boundaries to say, no, I need this outcome or whatever. Maybe in some instances it's not having a limiting belief where you're like, oh, I'm not good enough for that. I'm not skilled enough for that. I'm not from the right background for that. I'm not whatever. Regardless of what it is, I think being able to do what you want and get what you want, it's a new concept to me, like, do what I want my whole life, right? Since I was a teenager, I'll do what I want. And I've done it. And I've had a great life. I'm happy as a result of it. But is saying I'm happy settling? Because I'd take a house with a pool. I'd take, everything I want, every outcome I've ever wanted from every project I've done, everything I've done. So yeah, this new thing being added into the mix of getting what you want. I don't know, it's interesting to me, and I'm going to let it percolate in my brain, but it's just something I thought about yesterday and I wanted to talk about today, is that I think you can do what you want. Well, I know that from years and years and years, decades of lived experience. Get what you want. This is what I'm starting to work towards, and I'm gonna start changing my mindset and trying not to settle, trying not to justify, oh, at least it's this. Oh, we got that out of it. Oh, we learned this. And I did talk about that in another video. So anyway, what do you think? And what can you teach me? If you know about abundance, if you know about getting what you want, maybe it's setting goals, or maybe it's deciding on an outcome in advance, or visualizing, or, there's techniques to do it, I'm sure. And I've read a few things about this, but probably not enough. And again, a couple of videos ago, talking about theory versus action, And I'm going to try and take action. I'm going to start expecting to get what I want and see how it goes. So, well, we got half of the journey left to go. I'm doing 100 videos in 100 days. So you come along on the journey with me. I'm going to be working on my documentary, Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. Maybe if I'd gotten what I wanted, I wouldn't be a failed filmmaker. I'd be a successful filmmaker. I have liked the life I've lived, but here I go again, justifying. See what I do? Fall back on old patterns, Getting what I want. That's the next 20 years. Maybe I've just had the breakthrough of this video series, because I've been reflecting on 20 years since I made my first feature, and we were doing what we wanted that whole time. But see, I don't think we ever had the goal of like, let's go to Hollywood, let's become household names as filmmakers. I don't see, and that's the thing. I think maybe that's the problem, is we never articulated what we wanted to get, like getting what you want. Like, we did what we wanted, but we didn't have an outcome. And so maybe that's the next starting point, is decide on an outcome and work towards that. So I'm really enjoying building the channel. I'm enjoying thinking about ideas. And I've been just loving my leave for this reason, because I do have time and mental space to be able to think through these ideas, and getting help from the community, people putting in the comments what they think. I just have been loving it. So keep sharing your ideas in the comments. And yeah, a few videos back I asked if you have any ideas about what I should do videos about. Well, let me know that as well in the comments. So, but yeah, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, check out the playlist, Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. or the making of a Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker, where I share my process. And otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching today. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.